guest is Tom Mulcair. He's CTV's political commentator and the former leader of the NDP. Tom, good morning. Good to see you.
Good to be with you, Marcia.
Boy, we've got a lot to talk about. Names are already being tossed around for who could replace Justin Trudeau as Liberal leader. In your mind, who is the best contender to lead the party that is in disarray right now?
I'd say that anybody who didn't spend most of the past 10 years in cabinet with Trudeau has a bit of an inside track. So that would include, you just mentioned Frank Baylis, somebody I know quite well and be an interesting candidate. Better known candidates would include Christy Clark, former Premier of British Columbia, and of course, Mark Carney, former Governor of the Bank of Canada and of the Bank of England, and right now a very respected senior business person. So to the extent that somebody like Chrystia Freeland, for her 10 years with Trudeau, and he mentioned it in glowing terms yesterday, but he was also making it difficult for her to use her resignation as an excuse and try to say, I have nothing to do with this Trudeau guy. What Trudeau said during his press conference yesterday will be clipped by the other candidates and probably by the Conservatives. And it's, look, Chrystia Freeland was the closest partner I've ever had in politics. She's been there with me, side by side for the past 10 years. Agreeing with everything that we've done. So Trudeau was trying to say, look, she might have been self-serving and stepping down and saying, oh, she didn't like the gimmicks that we'd come up with to try to, build our favorability ratings back up. But she's been there every step of the way. Carney, I think, is in a unique position. I think that Christy Clark has tons of ability, but one of her challenges is she doesn't speak a lot of French. And, in a country where you have two official languages, that comes into play. If you can't participate in a press conference or in a debate, people will put that into the negative column. Let's look at Carney and who's with him. It was interesting for me to find out that somebody of the level of Gerald Butts is now backing Carney, helping him get organized. So if Carney's able to bring in people of that caliber, it says a lot about what they consider to be his chances of winning the leadership and becoming a serious contender against Poilievre. A small anecdote. Over the weekend on French, the French airwaves here in Quebec, Pierre Paulus, who is the very capable Quebec lieutenant of Pierre Poilievre, was out there attacking Mark Carney. Now, it was interesting that he didn't go after MPs or anything else. He was zeroing in on Carney. So that was a direct hit, ordered up by Conservative Central. And why would they be going after Carney in the days before Trudeau left? Well, because they were sufficiently well informed that there was a strong chance that Trudeau would be stepping down, and they were going to start softening up the target. I think that Mark Carney and the people around him should take it, frankly, as a compliment that they're seen as the real potential adversary of Pierre Poilievre.
Right, and just a reminder to our viewers, Butts, a former friend and advisor to Justin Trudeau.
Yes.
So we're talking a lot about what all of this means for the Liberal Party in the Liberal brand. I'm curious, though, to get your take on what this means for the Conservatives, for the opposition, Trudeau's departure.
Well, the Conservatives have been filling their satchel with potential votes and expressions of interests in all of the polling across Canada for about a year and a half now, based on Trudeau's personal lack of popularity. People were just tired of him. They weren't even willing to discuss his record. It was like, buddy, get the message, bye-bye. And so that really helped Poilievre's Conservatives build up a head of steam. They're so far ahead in the polls, everybody thinks that's prohibitive. But the minute they start the leadership race, all attention is going to be on the Liberal candidates. And the minute there's a vote and somebody is chosen, let's remember, it's obvious for those of us who follow politics, but it's worth repeating that this isn't like, the last few times the Conservatives have chosen leader. The person here who wins the leadership contest automatically becomes the prime minister of a G7 country. That's a pretty big prize to be going after, and it's going to completely change the way we look at things. Now, it's going to be a very tight race. It's going to be in terms of timing. It's going to be a very tight time in office for that potential successor to Trudeau, because they're probably going to wind up in a general election within weeks, if not within a couple of months of being chosen. So it's going to be a very tough spring for whoever does wind up in the job. But Marcia, I think that the bottom line is that it's been very easy for Poilievre to confederate, to coalesce all of the opposition to Justin Trudeau personally. But the Liberals still have a very strong brand. I can talk to you about it. We had pummeled them down to a couple of dozen seats with Jack Layton in the Orange Wave, and they came roaring back with Justin Trudeau. So they should never be counted out. And again, they've got deeply experienced people. And if Carney were to become their leader, I think that that could be a game changer in Canadian politics, frankly.
Lastly, tapping into your own political experience, Scott Reid yesterday reminded us time and time again that at the heart of it is still a person. The Prime Minister is still a person.
Yeah.
Your reflections on how Trudeau ended up where he did yesterday outside of Rideau Cottage after being so hugely popular in this country and really beyond. What do you think about that? How would that feel?
Well, the Justin Trudeau I saw yesterday was emotional. He wasn't his glib self. You could sense that there was a lot of reflection there. It had taken him some time to come to the realization that he couldn't hold on. He had his own explanation for it. He referenced internal divisions within the party. But those divisions, of course, Marcia, were a reflection of the fact that the elected members of his caucus were saying, Mr. Trudeau, on the doorstep, we're getting pummeled. People aren't tired necessarily of the Liberals, they're tired of you. And that's a tough message to deliver. And it took a long time for it to get through because he's got a lot of pride. He's been at it for a long time. And he kept referencing what he had done in the past as what he thought was a ticket to being able to stay in office. So I agree with Scott Reid. And it's worth reminding Canadians that Justin Trudeau sacrificed a lot on the personal and family level. We know that. And he's been in office, for over 9 years. And he deserves recognition and thanks for that. But now that page is turning. He remains Prime Minister. He's not interim. He's Prime Minister. And then we'll know in a couple of short months who his successor is going to be. I think that it's important to do just that, to recognize that anybody who serves at that level in politics has given up a lot on the personal side.
Tom Mulcair for us this morning. Tom, great to chat with you as always. Tom is our CTV News political commentator, and he's also the former leader of the NDP.